The air in the homestead's cramped back office always smelled the same: stale coffee, old fryer grease, and the faint, unsettling scent of impending doom. It was 2 p.m. on a Sunday, the time reserved for mandatory family business. My parents, my older brother Mark, and I were seated at the small, laminate table. Mark, with his tie loosened and his chest puffed out, looked like a king addressing his subjects. To him, the diner was a kingdom. The rest of the world, including my entire career, was just background noise. I run Pixel Forge Studios. We create high-value intellectual property, brand mascots, digital assets, entire virtual worlds. We generated 7 figures last year. But to my family, I was still just doing my little digital art hobby. They simply couldn't compute a world where success didn't involve wearing an apron and smelling like onions. I nodded, took a quiet sip of my coffee, and waited. I knew what was coming. It always was: a plea for help, followed by a total dismissal of my worth. Dad, shuffling a stack of ominous-looking bank letters, finally spoke. "Alex," he started, his voice heavy with false authority, "we have some serious family business. The Northwood location, it's in trouble. The main operating loan is past due. The bank is threatening to call the entire note." Then came the knife twist. Mom immediately jumped in. "We need everyone to contribute, Alex, to secure the family legacy." Mark leaned forward, the self-proclaimed hero. "Look, I'm handling the operations, the real work. Dad and Mom are putting up the last of their retirement savings as collateral. Alex, you'll need to contribute $50,000 of your savings. We need a cash injection to show the bank we're serious about restructuring." $50,000. To them, it was an astronomical sum. To me, it was a slow Tuesday. The sting wasn't the amount, it was the sheer entitlement. They were demanding my capital, but only Mark was to be crowned the rightful heir. I met Mark's gaze. "And what is my stake? What do I get for risking my capital to save a sinking ship?" "Stake?" Mark scoffed, waving his hand dismissively. "Don't be selfish, Alex. This is the family business. You don't need a stake. You're fine on your own. You just need to support the family. I'm the one who needs the controlling share. You're just clicking buttons in your spare time." That phrase, "clicking buttons in your spare time," was the final, unforgivable insult. They weren't asking for my help, they were demanding a subsidy while simultaneously erasing my identity and the reality of my financial success. I knew right then, the time for secrets was over. They thought this crisis was their low point. They had forgotten the real collapse 8 years ago. The 2017 market shift hit them like a freight train. Both of the original diner locations were over-leveraged, and the bank was threatening foreclosure on everything, including the family home that Dad had used for collateral. They came to me, a 26-year-old who had just sold her first mobile gaming app for a couple of million. They were desperate. They asked me to figure it out. I didn't loan them anything. I bought everything. Over 3 months, I quietly formed a holding LLC called Aurora Holdings. Through Aurora, I purchased the operating debt of all 4 diner locations, one by one, from the original lenders. I paid off the equity loan on their house. I stabilized their entire financial world. And I never told them. I structured their loan payments so that they believed they were paying the bank, when in fact, they were paying my LLC. Why the deception? Because I knew them. The moment they were safe and regained their footing, they would revert to their default setting, entitlement. My success would become their resource, not my achievement. I chose to be the anonymous foundation, the secret landlord, the hidden creditor. Now, as Mark demanded my money and dismissed my work, I knew my decade of silence had been necessary. The time had come to reveal the truth. I placed my coffee cup down, slowly, deliberately. "Dad, you talk about restructuring and investing. Let's talk about the only thing in this whole business that has any value, the branding." "What about it?" He frowned. "We have the best mascot in the city, the homie bear. Mark got it cheap." I pulled up my tablet and slid it across the table. It showed a detailed, official document, the homie bear IP registered next to my company name, Pixel Forge Studios. Mark got it cheap because I created the Homey Bear IP 2 years ago and licensed it to the homestead for a token, non-renewable fee, I said calmly. I own the image. I own the IP. Mark looked absolutely stunned. This is a lie. Your art is weird space monkeys. This is a diner mascot. I know the difference between a profitable IP and a failing business, Mark, I countered. And effective today, I am serving notice. The Homey Bear license is revoked. You have 30 days to remove that image from every sign, every menu, every napkin. Your rebrand starts from zero. Mom was tearful now. You can't. That's half our identity. I can, I said, sliding a different document across the table, a notice of debt acquisition. And now for the actual investment. You needed $150,000 to save Northwood? You're too late. 6 months ago, the debt on the Northwood property was sold. Aurora Holdings LLC now holds the note. And I am the sole director of Aurora Holdings. I looked them each in the eye. Dad, Mom, Mark. Right now, I am not your daughter or your sister. I am your primary creditor. And since you've tried to shame me into subsidizing Mark's ego, I'm calling the note. The full principal on the Northwood location loan is due in 60 days. Mark exploded, shouting about betrayal. You're destroying the family. No, I replied, standing up. I'm buying it. The legacy died when you chose entitlement over effort and dismissed the only person in this room who was actually successful. You have 2 months to find a buyer who can pay off the note, or I foreclose. Or, you can sell the entire chain to me, Aurora Holdings, at its current distressed market value. I left them with their documents, their shouting, and their shattered reality. The fallout was predictable chaos. They tried to sue, claiming fraud. My attorney, Marcus, easily slapped down the baseless claim with 8 years of notarized documents proving the sales and debt assignments were legal. 3 weeks later, Dad came to my office. The mask was gone. He was just an exhausted, defeated man. You saved us 8 years ago, he whispered. Why the secret? I kept it a secret because I knew you wouldn't respect me if you knew I had money, I repeated. You'd treat me exactly like you did that day. You'd demand my assets and put Mark in charge. I chose stability over false gratitude. Then I showed him the books I had been keeping, Mark's staggering credit card debt, their unaffordable car payments, the true losses of the diners. I know everything, I told him. I've been quietly managing your collapse for years. I then presented my final offer. They chose option B, selling the entire restaurant chain to Aurora Holdings at the distressed value. It allowed them to pay off all their personal debt and walk away with a small, clean retirement fund. And for their house, the one I had saved years ago, I offered a lease agreement. Market rate with a steep security deposit. Pay on time or eviction proceeds immediately. He just stared at the rent amount, crushed. We can't afford that, Alex. Then you downsize, Dad, I told him. Welcome to reality. What's cruel is spending 8 years living off my silent protection, then trying to give Mark the heir's title while laughing at my life's work. They sold the chain to me. They downsized to a modest condo. Mark had to swallow his pride and get a real job. 6 months later, I was reviewing my portfolio, Aurora Holdings, the profitable restaurant chain, and Pixel Forge Studios, the IP empire. They were separate, profitable, and mine. Dad called. Your mother wants to invite you to dinner at our new place. It's small, but it's ours. I miss you, Dad, I said, a wave of genuine emotion washing over me. But I need to know you understand. I'm not coming back to a family where my success is a wallet and my property is a disposable asset. I know, Alex, he replied. We're learning. We're paying our own bills now. You built something incredible. I'm sorry I tried to take it. That apology was 8 years overdue, but it was real. Thanks, Dad, I said. Maybe in a few months. Let's see how the boundaries hold. My empire stood solid. It wasn't built on entitlement or inheritance. It was built by me, owned by me, and finally respected. The lesson wasn't about revenge. It was about the simple, profound necessity of drawing a firm line. And now I was at peace.